Hey you guys, this is Wadria and I am back with another Airbnb Side Hustle video. As you know, I'm an Airbnb host and I'm in the process of expanding my Airbnb business. And yesterday, a conversation that I had with an investor as I was thinking about renting an apartment from him to then list on Airbnb, aka do rental arbitrage with. And I just wanted to share something from that experience that might be, I don't know, helpful for you as you are considering or you're in the process of starting your own Airbnb business using the same rental arbitrage method. All right, so long story short, if you're not familiar with rental arbitrage, it is basically where you sublet or you lease an apartment or a house from a property owner, landlord, and then you list that same property on Airbnb. You charge money for it, you get paid. All right, but in doing so, you're of course taking over the lease of that property. You're taking care of all the utilities and things that go along with maintaining it and then offering that to guests. All right, so this investor had reached out to me on Facebook because a friend of mine, a mutual friend, had recommended me to him. I guess he had posted something about looking for people to maybe do Airbnb with. But in any case, we connected and come to find out he owns multiple apartments and homes throughout the city of Pittsburgh. And you just know it was like music to my ears because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm looking for an apartment and here, potentially one just like landed in my lap. So I ended up checking out a few of his apartments and they were just like, listen, like, yes, like exactly where one of the places I would want to be. And the market rate that he was charging for the rent, I'm like, it was like right there, right in line with my budget. So I was just like, oh my God, like this could just be like 1, 2, 3. This would just be so awesome if this was like a like check, this works out. So in any case, we ended up, meeting. I told him I was, definitely like in, these apartments that I saw, like it has a lot of potential for Airbnb. We met, had a really great conversation, had just a lot of things in common mindset wise. So I was just like, wait a minute, like come through, friend, for connecting us. So in any case, I ended up, from that meeting, we parted ways and, I ran, told him I would run the numbers and then come back to him with like a proposal in a sense, right? As far as how much I would be offering to like pay him for rent. Because one thing that was clear, when we met is that, he was going to be charging, me more than what he is charging, the market rate for rent. Like he was in there trying to make some money as well. And the amount that he threw out was like $600 more than what he was charging, I'm doing the renting the traditional way. So, I incorporated the number that he had thrown out to me, arbitrarily, when I was running my numbers. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, is this reinforced the importance of like just doing your homework and running your numbers before you decide to sign a lease or you decide to move forward, with a property, because the numbers have to make sense. So went to my back cave, ran all the numbers as far as the rent, had to factor in the utilities, gas, electricity, water, sewage, internet, Netflix, cleaning costs. And when it was all said and done, the number that he was suggesting for rent, it was just not going to be doable at all. I then had to do my homework as far as looking in the area, doing some market research, looking at comps, looking on Airbnb's platform, same area, same similar listing, looking at what the going rates were on average in the area and seeing what I would be able to charge. I was just like, okay, this is not going to be doable with this amount of rent. And so I had to counter, I ended up countering his offer. And long story short, the end of the story is that I ended up not renting this particular apartment from him because after we were going back and forth, like basically playing let's make a deal for like a couple of hours. I made one offer, he made another. It just was not going to be doable with the offer, that he was presenting. He had ended up offering me like 6 months at the market rate rent and then another 6 months at that $600 increase. And I was just like, even with that, it just was not going to make sense financially, right? Like when you're doing a business, when you're running the business, you're there to make money, and it's Airbnb, it is a business when you decide that you want to get into the hosting aspect of it. So you just want to always do your homework, run your numbers, definitely look at the area, the market, look at what the rates are, what the demand is in the area, and really look at what the responsibility would be on your part financially. Because as with all businesses, you have your peak seasons, and then you have your low seasons. Airbnb is no different. So when you are taking on a property and you're taking on the expenses, you have to be able to, have a plan in place to be able to still meet those expenses. And you still even want to, at the very least, you want to be able to break even when you are experiencing those potential downturns, those seasonal downturns. Like wintertime, in a lot of places like North America is like, can be a really slow time for Airbnb. So you just want to factor all of those things into deciding whether or not it makes sense for you to move forward with a property and sign that lease. So those are just some of the takeaways that I had from this experience that I wanted to share with you. And another real quick thing is this: when you are negotiating with the investors, property owners, landlords, is you want to think win-win. And that was the fun part about this whole thing is, I love the back and forth, the negotiating, the countering, and because you're thinking in terms of what makes sense for you, right? Like you of course want to win, right? You want to have the things that are most important to you. You want to have those things met, but you got to think the same way for the other person, knowing what is important to them, and thinking in terms of how you can deliver that. And if the outcome is not a win-win, then you could both shake hands agreeably, like we did with me and this particular investor. It was like, okay, we decided, okay, we weren't going to do this deal together, but great contact. We'll keep each other in the loop as we go. You never know, we might be doing business in the future, but you just want to always approach all negotiations, think of it in terms of a win-win, so that when you are going back and forth and you're sharing and you're pitching them on why they should do business with you, you're always keeping in mind what is ultimately important to them. So listen, this was my little story time and I will be keeping you in the loop because this new month, all right, this is the final month in the first quarter. One of my goals is to acquire one new listing per quarter. So I have this month to get my one for this quarter. So I'll be keeping you guys in the loop as I go. All right. Have a wonderful, fruitful first week of May, and I'll be seeing you soon.